So I think it's time. I'm gonna I think it's time for Rutherford to rant wrestling, right?
What? We're really doing that?
Oh yeah.
I thought we already. That was enough of a.
That was a tease.
That was a partial
I thought
rant.
that was a partial. That's why I stopped. I would have kept going.
This whole thing's been a rant.
Yeah, that's true.
You can rant.
Well, I just wanted to say that honestly, our entire conversation today, in a way, has something to do with what I'm about to mention right now.
Okay.
There was an episode of South Park about 10 years ago where Randy Marsh was trying to convince himself that he loved tween wave music. And every time he would listen to it, it would just sound like farts and shit.
Yeah.
And he'd be like, no, I like it. Oh, no, it's great. I like it. I like it a lot.
Ties into our earlier conversation.
I feel like that's the case with today's pro wrestling. On a major level. Now, the WWE is kind of past the point of no return. They have record low number of viewers watching, and I don't know who is watching it at all anymore. Really, we've tried watching clips as a group here, and it was
sickening.
It was sickening. It was disgusting.
That was that Money in the Bank bullshit.
Well, we watched that, but also there was the Alexa Bliss swinging on
was the same
swing
thing
in the ring, and
it's the same show.
Yeah, it's the same.
Oh God.
Yeah, and the monologues and the acting in the ring.
That actually makes sense because they had all those people acting was all they were doing for that Money in the Bank thing, with a little bit of fake fighting.
Yeah, it was, and that was really bad, very very bad. So, but anyways, so when I talk about the wrestling fan, a lot of that is kind of being pointed towards like the me and burgers, like the kind of dorks on the internet who make comments and you know, whatever. So a lot of this is being pointed in that direction. There's a company out there, we did a watch along, it's called AEW. They have a guy named Kenny Omega, and he is their champion. And there's a lot of stuff that guy does that just really takes you out of the moment of watching, or can really make you not like his character in a way, not to where you want to see him, but where you want him to, where you just wish he didn't even exist.
Right. It's go away heat rather than good wrestling heat.
And that's I know that that I'm not the only person that feels this way, but I definitely will admit that I am in the minority of this feeling. Now, this guy's character on the show, the guy when he's on the show, his character talks about, as a way to brag about how good he is, talks about how he puts on the best matches and he's the best performer, or has the best performances, or he has 7-star matches, which is, you know, you grade the wrestling matches on a star scale. So 7 stars is off the charts, and he had one from a one reviewer gave it 7. Anyways, he's bragging about this in character on TV, which would be like having Daniel Day-Lewis in the middle of There Will Be Blood talk about how he's won Oscars in the past and how, aren't I such a great actor right now, in the middle of the movie. Hey, aren't I such a great actor right now? And completely break character and talk about all that. Look how great of an actor I am. I'm doing such a great job acting right now in this movie, in this scene. I'm always great at it.
You're a bastard in a basket. One of my favorite.
I mean,
lines.
it's an extreme. It's an extreme example, but I mean, it kind of. I feel like it holds water.
Yeah.
If you have a guy, the whole idea of professional wrestling, the entire illusion of professional wrestling, is to put on a fixed match that a fixed fight, it is supposed to look like one on one, or however convoluted you want to get on the match. The whole point of the match is supposed to be winning.
Right. It's the illusion of combat.
So you want to win. In the world of the UFC, Tim, have you ever heard of the guy John Jones in UFC?
No.
Burger, you've heard of John Jones, right?
I don't think so.
Oh my God, he's the most Conor McGregor.
Yes, Conor, yes, absolutely, of course.
If Conor McGregor is more like a professional wrestler, which is why you guys have heard of him, because he cuts promos for his fights, and he does I think
I saw him fight some actor.
It's outlandish.
Just out of just in a practice kind of thing, and wasn't it the guy in that a superhero movie? He
No, McGregor?
Yeah. Just not in a real fight, but
No. I don't think he's been in any movies. He
sparred with someone in a practice area.
Oh, I have no idea. I'm just thinking of his actual fights.
That's why he does things like that make him.
He's just he's a character. He's a wild man. It's like Mike Tyson kind of style of personality in the fight game. But for example, John Jones is a fighter who is the best ever, and he doesn't talk about putting on the best fights. He talks about whipping people's ass.
Right.
I beat his ass.
He doesn't go,
I had the fight of the night.
How his performances were reviewed in
right.
the past,
He doesn't
and
talk
what
about
scores they were given.
Right, exactly. And it kind of if you really want to be considered the best wrestling performer, I shouldn't have to look past the fact that you're sitting there going, all the shit I do is phony, but I do the phony stuff the best because I do all the cool choreographed stuff. So, hey, I'm doing a gymnastics routine. So I should look past that and then and just have to convince myself, okay, this isn't real. Or, this is real. This is real. This is real while I'm watching it. I shouldn't have to do that. When you're watching the whole illusion of professional wrestling, just like a magic trick, is for you to go, shit, how did he do that? David Blaine is manipulating the situation when he's doing an up-close card trick. Yeah. But you still don't know how he fucking did it, and it's entertaining.
Right.
So with professional wrestling, I want to watch the match. By the end of it, I want to go, oh man, I was actually rooting for somebody right there.
Yeah, and you didn't think about it because you forgot for a second. They were doing so good, or it was such a compelling match that they were doing that you're like you forget in that moment that you're watching something that's scripted.
Right, exactly. And Kenny Omega doesn't do that, but because the culture of professional wrestling and the fact that there's been a mass exodus of fans watching, so now the only people that are really watching are the most diehard of diehards or the most fanboy of fanboys. And you have people like Burger and myself who are almost completely lapsed, but still actually care about it for whatever reason. And we're on the outside looking in going we're trying to watch. We're trying to give it an opportunity for...
We want to like it.
We want to like this, but we don't. So don't you think that's more alarming? Don't you think that says something more about the people, what you're forgiving as a show? And if you add higher standards of what you were expecting out of them, that they would just shape up? There's certain things that you can do that you don't have to do on your fucking show. And there's certain things that where it's oh man, it's so specific. It's so specifically tailored towards this dorky section of the fucking wrestling crowd. Where it's we're wrestling fans. We're not cool. It should not be if we think something's really fucking cool, oh man, it's so cool, man. When that's the reaction to something in wrestling, it's something that's fucking stupid. That's how I look at it. It's like, oh man, that was so fucking sweet. Oh, that match was awesome. Wow, that was a good match. It was a good match. Oh, no, and then they did the wolf pack. They did the too sweet sign in the middle of the ring and ended. And it was just like what they used to do in Japan. And all that's like, oh, and Kevin Owens did a crotch chop and he flipped him off into a stunner. It's like watching trampoline wrestling.
Yeah.
I say that Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks and the Good Brothers, they should look at the camera next week and raise their fucking eyebrow and do the people's eyebrow and start doing crotch chops and start going, what? Yeah. And start doing that too. If they're going to do the fucking too sweet and it's supposed to be so cool that they're doing some shtick that a different group did that was actually like popular.
Yeah.
Like someone explained it to me earlier where they were like, well, in the origin of it, when the Bullet Club was in New Japan when they came out, the whole idea was that they were obnoxious foreigners. So doing the too sweet thing was a way to like be obnoxious towards the Japanese crowd. Oh, okay, cool. But they're doing it not to be obnoxious on AEW last night. They're doing it and they're going like, hey, isn't it so cool, guys? Yeah, look at us. And then they're all just like fanboying out like, oh, this is so great. Oh, we're jerking off to this.
Yeah, it's like South Park's Member Berries.
It's like South Park's Member Berries. Yes, exactly. And then meanwhile,
wrestling was good.
Meanwhile, on the other channel, you have them doing what South Park did, the episode that they did Backyard Wrestling, where they're like, Rhino, why are you out here you are in the forest, and they're out in the middle of the ring doing like these scenes, and everyone's watching it like it's like a Shakespeare play.
Oh, it's good wrestling.
Yeah, oh, this is great wrestling. And it's like, that's what WWE's doing now. They're having these fucking monologues in the middle of the ring, and it's like, what the fuck? Like, what?
This isn't wrestling at all.
It's not wrestling.
It's
just this really like stupid, like it's just really stupid.
Bad
it's
soap
bad.
Operas.
And then it's like
you might be able to get caught up in a good soap opera.
Yeah, and this is just not. These are bad. These people, if they were actors, they would go act. That's why The Rock left and went to Hollywood, because he was like, I can act. I don't really gotta fucking be here and do this bullshit carnival stuff. I'm fucking out of here. John Cena could act, but like wouldn't really get accepted to do anything mainstream until just, I think, recently. And he's kind of found a niche doing something else. So he's left. He's gone. See you later. Bye-bye. There's a reason why, if you're a good actor, you're not going to continually put yourself through the fucking brutality that these guys do. When essentially what you're doing as a professional wrestler is just willingly throwing yourself onto the ground. Like, that's what you do. You fucking fall and you have to fucking slam yourself on the ground a bunch, and that takes a toll on your body. So that's why The Rock doesn't fucking do it anymore, because he can make millions of dollars acting.
And be more respected.
Right. And so if Randy Orton is a professional wrestler and isn't an actor, because if he was an actor, he wouldn't be there doing this shit.
At age 40.
Quit asking him to perform these horrible monologues where I look at it like, Alexa Bliss, what you don't understand is that I'm evil and I might do something evil, or whatever horrible fucking words they give him, but he has the same cadence every time, and they've been doing
20
this
years.
for 20
years. We've been watching Randy Orton.
20 years, and it's the same. And then you go to now. Let's flip back over to the other channel where you have the guys doing Too Sweet and doing all that stuff. You also have an idiot on there who's pissed off that Vince McMahon didn't see anything in him, so he's now doing the I'm talking in a way now to relate with everyone, and I'm getting so emotional. And you're trying to show everyone that you can fucking act. I'm talking about Cody Rhodes. You're trying to show everyone that you can act, and you step over everyone's fucking spotlight. You have to have a grandiose entrance every time you come to the ring.
Every
That's
time.
over the top more than anybody else. That your character on the television, your character on the television is being presented as a good guy. Now, yes, there is no good guys or bad guys in AEW. You were also supposed to be a a sports-based wrestling show, and this show at one point had a song and dance breakout, a whole song and dance scene with Jericho and MJF. So this is not a sports-based show. And I have a way to make it sports-based, actually. I have a whole way to remedy this, and a way to make Kenny Omega the greatest in the world at what he does. And I have a solution to that.
You're going to share it now? Or are you gonna...
Yeah, I do. I'm going to share it right now. I'm going to share it now.
3 easy payments of $19.99.
If you pay now, I will tell you. No. You have a show. If you want to call AEW sports-based wrestling, and you have these guys who, when they go out there, like Kenny Omega, he goes and he tries to have the greatest match in the world every time he goes out there. It doesn't matter who he faces. And that's a big issue I have with him. If you try to have a great match with everyone, then there is no such thing as a great match.
Right.
And so on their show, he had a match last night with a mid-card tag team guy, and it's getting called the potential best match that's ever been on Dynamite TV. And to me, that just says, well, what the fuck? Why should I care about Kenny Omega then if he's having such a hard time with a mid-card tag team guy? Like, that guy's obviously wasn't going to win, so why should I give a shit about his character? And it's because Kenny Omega structures every match that he has like it's the main event of the Tokyo Dome, instead of thinking about the actual longevity of performing on a national stage to everybody. He just goes out there and he tries to have the best match ever.
Everything is individual.
And that's how a lot of their, right. And that's how a lot of their mentality is every show, every wrestler on that show.
Yeah.
Whenever they come out of the entrance, out into the arena, it's as if their character respawned, like it's a video game. There is no real learning. It goes on, and there's some stuff, or people say, oh, you just don't understand the psychology. You don't understand the psychology. No, what I do understand is that when you do a million high-impact moves that look like they could cripple someone if you actually hit them, mm-hmm. And then they're kicking out, and they're kicking out, and they're kicking out, and they're just trying to have the greatest match of all fucking time. And then you show me a match where Walter does just a suplex, and the whole entire fucking crowd erupts and goes apeshit. Like, when you show me those side to side, and then you think the Walter one's way better, of course, because it is. Like it just shows that their method is fucking wrong. Like, it's not. All you're doing is you're just trying to put on this choreographed, dance. And so my remedy to that, to make it like a sport, is to have at every AEW, to make it an actual event. So it's not like a storyline where it's a wrestling soap opera weekly thing. It's like a league. And these guys go out there and they have their matches, and you have a panel of 3 to 5 sanctioned judges who then score the match on a criteria that they then give a score to, like on the fucking gymnastics
Olympics,
or the Olympic gymnastics or the fucking figure skating. So then you have the judges, and then you have the matches throughout the night be charted on what their score was. So then you have, tonight there's Kenny Omega is going to be taking on Chris Jericho tonight, in a match. And then the Lucha Brothers are going to face the Young Bucks, and Hangman Page is going to take on MJF. So then they go out there, and Hangman Page and MJF have this match, and then the judges score it 6.7 or whatever on their scale of 10, and it's like, or you know what I mean, and then
the crowd goes
right,
nice.
or if, I guess if it's more gymnastic, style of scoring, it would be like 8.9, total score. Oh, hey, great. So now they're in the lead of the match of the night, and then Jericho and Omega go out there, and they have this match, and the judges score, and it's a 9.4, and then they both bow, and they're like, yes, and everyone claps for them, and then they're
Bow
like,
at
yeah,
the
he's
end.
such a great performer.
Just
We
imagine
bow
how-
together.
Yeah, they bow together afterwards, and they celebrate, and then they run to the back, because what, you know, it can
They
even be
skip
like
back.
on figure skating, after their routine's done, and they're sitting in the booth, and they're like looking for the scores, and then it shows them like, yay, we did so great, and then
like
the
ballerina dancers,
Right.
like figure skaters.
and then the Lucha Brothers and the Young Bucks go out there, and they have this incredibly high flying acrobatic Cirque du Soleil. They're flying over each other, and they're doing all this stuff where they're all choreographed and doing all their dances, and then it's like 9.9, and they win the night, and the Young Bucks and the Lucha Brothers, their routine wins the night, and that's the winner, and so they won. So now they have, when you win the night, there's a point system, so you get X amount of points. So then the next week you show up and you have a different match, and then the points are allotted to. There you go. Then
Sounds rather compelling.
You do a 6-month run of these shows where you keep track. Where you
It actually makes sense.
You keep track of how of their record from or the points total. So then it's like, oh well, the young Bucks have a match total, because you do divisions, right? So you have your singles division of matches, then you have your tag team based wrestling matches, then you have your female division with the same thing, right? And then you have your performances in each one. So like the Young Bucks are performing in the championship round of the first season of the AEW Dynamite.
Yeah. It's like the
World
Voice.
Championships. Yes, and then they perform on their big thing, and they win. They get the highest score of their tag team round. And then that if they want to make it sports and they want to fucking brag about the ratings they get from their reviews of their matches and your performance, then that's what you want to do as your character. If not, then what you need to start doing is you need to start saying, I whooped this guy's ass, and I'm going to whip this guy's ass. And then when you book your match, because you have control of your character, you should beat the person's ass if it's someone who's not on your level as a character. Instead, you go out and you have this match where you go and you totally give them all the offense in the world, and they make it look like you almost get beaten. And then they're not going to do anything with that person, with that character anyways. So then you just look like a chump, because when that guy ends up losing in some stupid way later on, because they're not thinking about that level, they just go, oh, the fucking Butcher and the Blade are going to beat the Lucha Brothers. They're going to just fucking destroy Rey Fenix. It's like, well, Rey Fenix just had a competitive match with Kenny Omega. So you telling me that the Butcher and the Blade are now going to beat Omega for the world title? No, like that's not what's going to happen. There's no, again, I get it. It's fake, man. It's fake. There should be some logic to it. I shouldn't have to sit there and go,
everything on TV is fake. But you have logic, you have storytelling, and you have little things happen that build to something greater. You have finales, pay-per-views, or whatever. You build towards things. So what it really is just it's a total difference in fundamentals. Of like, if you start off where wrestling, like fake wrestling first started, and it's like maximize profits, minimize injuries, and sort of, we can go from there. And then it was the thing with it is that there's no, once you eliminate that we're not fighting, we're not competing for something, then it's like, well, then you're just opening the door for it to be.
Then you're just
ridiculous.
and then you're just jumping. You're just might as well just be jumping on a trampoline in your backyard, or jerking off in your basement.
Look what I can do.
Right, because there's no point to it.
And that's why people love Stone Cold. Like, everybody knew wrestling was fake when Stone Cold was the champion.
But his storyline and his matches. The storyline was compelling, so the soap opera part or whatever was going on worked, but his matches worked because they were intense. his matches were intense because it felt like there was an actual fight going on, or there was consequences to the actions that were happening right then. That can happen in wrestling, and it's happened, and it happens in small pockets where you go, well, why the fuck don't they do this more? But the problem is that the only hope that you really had in recent history was AEW. So the reason why it's so disappointing is that they're running their company like TNA was running in 2009, 2010. It's the same fucking thing, same presentation, same entrance tubes, just different characters in there. And some of them are the same guys that were there. The Young Bucks were around at that time too. And so then they're just doing their shtick, which was these guys were all working on a level where they were going to different towns every weekend. And so what they were doing is they were just trying to get invited back every time because that's how they were making their money on one-shot deals all over the place. And so now, their match, they didn't give a shit about doing something that had any long-lasting effect to make people want to see you again. If you go see Gigi Allen, and you go for the spectacle of him shitting all over himself and cutting himself and doing all that shit, unless you're absolutely captivated by him and that is just absolutely what you love, which I would question, it's like when you see it one time, you're not going to go, you know what? I'm going to follow Gigi Allen on tour. But there's other bands where you go and see them every fucking time they come because it's a different experience every time, and you know they're going to take you there, and you're going to be able to get lost in the idea of what they're doing. And the great thing about professional wrestling as an art form is that it can do that. And yeah, you could be like Ric Flair and have a fucking match that looks the same every time. But guess what? 9 times out of 10 with Ric Flair, you're going to watch his match and you're going to get captivated in something that he's doing because of the performance and the fact that there isn't any part of the match that he does that doesn't seem like he's trying to win. He's always trying to win. And if you get rid of that aspect and you just put nothing but choreographed do-si-do fucking moves all the time, it's just not gonna fucking be satisfying to enough people to get this wrestling revolution that all these fucking fans want to have happen again. You're not going to will a wrestling revolution into happening by just saying that this stuff is good. So by putting your headphones on and listening to the fart noises the whole time and going, no, it's good, I really like it, it's good, does no one any good. It's all bad right now. It's all very bad. I'd rather watch a show of MLW matches that are all 1 to 2 stars, but with that presentation of wrestling, than watch the bullshit that they put on TV on USA and TNT every week. And that's the thing. I watch MLW every week. And their matches, there's some times where it's rough, where you're like, oh man, these guys are kind of slow, or they're a little bit sloppy in like their execution. But I'd rather see that just because of the presentation, and because they treat it like it's an actual event, like it's a sport. God forbid.
And like AEW is never going to get more than that 750, 800,000 viewer average because they only appeal to that small group. And people like us just
we'll order the pay-per-view begrudgingly and bitch about it the whole time, and we'll do it because, like all wrestling fans, we just want there to be want it to be something that's fun to watch again, because when wrestling is fun to watch, there's really nothing more fun to watch.
When wrestling is done right, it captivates people who don't watch wrestling.
Yep. That's how good wrestling can be. You know what I mean?
You forget that you're watching something that's completely bullshit.